Hello everyone. I am Irene Rose Balanquacas, a BS Fisheries student, third year, Section A. So, I will gonna topic about salting. For the contents of salting are, it includes salting, salt quality, the factors influencing salt penetration, the method of salting procedure, the manufactured products, the spoilage of salted fish, and the research note. Salting. Salting is a method of preserving food. It can preserve by lowering the moisture content of the fish to the point where bacterial and enzymatic activities are retarded. Salting is usually applied in combination with other methods of preserving such as drying, smoking, fermenting, canning, and marinating. So, according to Jarvis in 1950, salt is used in almost all methods of fish preparation, either as a condiment, a flavoring agent, or as an accessory preservative. So, salting is a method of preserving food that was very common before modern refrigeration. It is very obvious that although tayo ay gumagamit ng salting para ma-preserve yung fish natin, yung food. Then, for the salt quality, the quality of salt and type of salt are prime importance when salting fish, since they will have a great effect on the quality of the end product. So, we need to identify the quality of salt, which are the chemical composition, the microbiological quality, and the physical properties. So, chemical composition is pure common salt is 99.9% sodium chloride. Then, according to Lupin in 1982, Horner 1987, A. Presence of iron and copper in salt encourage the development of rancidity, particularly in fatty fish, which can result to unsightly yellowish or brownish color in the finished product. And according to my observation here in the business of my parents, in the end products for the fatty fish, I observe the fish that they are oily, yes, yellowish, tapos yung laman ng isda is medyo wet. Di talaga siya na 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 bibilad ng araw pag fatty siya, di talaga siya nag-dry. Then according to Lucas and Sutcliffe in 1891, calcium and magnesium chloride are hygroscopic and at high relative humidities can cause wetness of the salt. So, for the microbiological quality, the spoilage bacteria are inhibited by salt, but some salt-tolerant bacteria, or halophiles, that are often found in many commercial salts. The presence of halophilic bacteria can result to pinking in cured fish. Additionally, halophilic molds may be present particularly in rock or mine salt, which can cause dan in salted or dried fish. The dan or the pinken are the spoilage of salted fish, which so kailangan talaga nating hindi magkulang or hindi magsobra yung paglagay ng isda. Paglagay ng asin sa isda, dapat katamtaman lang siya para no bacteria, no spoilage of salted fish anymore. Then for the physical properties, according to Connell in 1995, salt should be reasonable small grain size to facilitate close contact with the fish surfaces and rapid dissolution. However, However, it must not be so fine as slow down the drainage of the released fish juices. Fine grained salt is suitable for brine preparation because it dissolves quickly and easily. The recommended salt mixture for direct salting is 2/3 coarse grain and 1/3 fine grain salt because pag ano lang siya, yung fine grain salt lang yung gagamitin natin is mas madali yung salt burn niya. Kasi yung fine grain is very quickly and easily to dissolve. So here's the picture of fine grain salt and coarse grain salt. Kasi yung coarse grain salt is matagal siyang mag-melt ng dahil siya ay buo-buo. Tapos yung fine grain salt naman, if they attach to the fish, syempre mag-ano talaga siya, mag-melt siya. Pero madali siyang mag-result, makapag-preserve. Then the factors influencing salt penetration, then salt penetration and the removal of water from the fish are influenced by a number of factors. Factors that fat and protein content, then the thickness of the flesh, the purity of the salt, the temperature during salting, and the freshness of the fish. So, fat and protein content, according to Burgess et al. In 1965, the higher the fat content, the slower the salt uptake. So, dapat kung medyo mataba yung isda, di talaga natin siyang ipapatagal sa asin para di siya di mag-damage or mag-cause ng spoilage yung isda. Fat acts as a barrier both to the entry of salt and withdrawal of moisture. Horner, according to Horner in 1997, high protein content or 18 to 19% is believed to influence the attainment of osmotic equilibrium long before the internal salt concentration approaches the outer salt concentration. So, pag mataba yung isda, kahit nilalagyan na siya ng asin, is lumalabas pa rin yung moisture niya. Nagwe-wet pa rin siya kasi dahil sa taba niya. Then the thickness of the flesh, the thicker the flesh, the slower the diffusion of salt to the center. At tropical ambient temperatures, such a delay would allow decomposition at the center of thick muscle before the salt concentration has reached level high enough to prevent bacterial spoilage. So, dito po natin makikita na pag yung isda fresh, dapat di natin siya masyadong dadamihan yung asin. Para di siya dadapuan ng bacterial. The purity of the salt. The purer the salt, the faster the salt penetration. The presence of impurities such as calcium and magnesium chlorides and sulfates, even in small amounts, reduces the rate of salt penetration into the flesh. So according to Horner, in 1997, calcium and magnesium ions bind with protein and form a barrier to the passage of sodium ions to the thicker part of the flesh. These impurities also affect the color and flavor of the salted product. So, for the temperature during salting, salt is need to uptake is faster at higher temperatures, but the rate of bacterial spoilage is also accelerated. Very clear talaga yan. So, for the freshness of the fresher the fish, the more slowly salt will be taken up. So, ito yung sinasabi ko na pag fresh yung isda, di masyadong dadamihan yung dito na natin i-apply yung maliit lang na asin kasi fresh pa siya. Tapos, for the methods of salting. According to Pressler and Lemon in 1950, there are two general methods of salting of fish, which are the dry salting or quench process and wet salting. These are the two methods of salting, the dry and the wet salting. The dry salting or quench process, this method is carried out by rubbing fish with salt just before packing and each layer of fish is sprinkled. So, iisahin dapat yung isda, isa-isa silang i-rub sa asin, tsaka i-arrange siya sa layer, i-arrange siya tapos by layer, tsaka lalagyan ulit siya ng asin para iwas ng spoilage. Dry salting is recommended for lean fish due to oxidation problems in fatty fish. So, for the fatty fish, dapat marami yung asin para maluto talaga yung katawan niya kasi mas marami yung fat niya kaya matagal siyang mag-absorb sa katawan ng fresh fish. Then according to Lupin in 1982, an advisable proportion of salt is 3 kilograms or 10 kilograms or 30% of dressed fish prepared for salting. But it depends kung marami yung isda nyo. Di na kailangan ng mga measurements kung paano lalagyan ng asin. According to my experience lang naman dito sa amin kasi ganito yung ginagawa namin sa dry salting. Madami kasi. So, for practical operations, the quality of salt use should not exceed 35 to 40%. So, this is the dry salting. Yung fish, very obvious na yung ginamit na asin is fine kasi this is very quick to absorb the salt for the fish. Then, for the wet salting, it can be brining or pickle curing. To reduce the problem of oxidation, the fish must be covered with liquid as rapidly as possible. Then, according to Roberts in 1986a, saturated brine can be added to speed up the process and fish can be kept immersed in the liquid by using weight. Pickle curing is appropriate for oily fish with fat content of 2% or more. So, yung wet salting is we need to mix the water. We need to mix the water and the salt. Before mixing the water and the salt, we need to surely that it is very maparat talaga siya para di talaga mabubulok yung isda kasi pag di lahat ng isda minix lang natin pero di tayo sure sa asin na nilagay natin, meron pa ring isda na nag-spoil. Lalo na yung lumilitaw lang sa taas, sa upper part ng box. So, for the salting procedure, fresh raw material must be used for salting. For the preparation of raw material, big fish are scaled, and the skin of tough-skinned fish is removed. Kailangan talagang kuhanan ng scales yung malalaking isda kasi yung sa outer part nila, yung doon sa may nadadapuan din sila ng bacteria kaya mas mabilis silang mag-spoil. Lalo na yung fatty fish na big fish. Then the salting process is if the fish will be brine salted, First, soak the fish in brine of lesser concentration for about 1/2 to 1 hour to leach the blood before packing in the saturated brine. The fish should be stuck loosely before adding the concentrated brine. Small fish may be dumped into the brine. The brine must be changed regularly if it becomes sour or slimy. This is the salting of this is the process for salting. Then if the fish will be dry salted, the fish should be properly stuck in layers with sufficient salt beneath each layer and on top of the final layer. So, bago tayo maglagay ng isda, dapat yung sa ilalim niya is may isda na rin kasi kahit naka ano yung isda, yung back portion ng isda, dapat may asin din siya. Layer by layer, dapat nga isa-isa yung isda paglagay ng asin para matagal yung pag-preserve ng food niya. Then for the manufactured products, I have example, the canned cured fish or the binuro. Dried fish din to siya. In the Philippines, the term canned curing denotes a process by which mackerels, sardines, or other small fishes are brined, drained for several hours, and then packed in dry salt. The product usually has a light brown color, a salty characteristic, taste, and fishy odor. Fishy odor yung no talaga dried fish talaga na amoy niya. Then for the materials and equipment, short-bodied mackerel, sardine, then the salt, the Indian mackerel, the wooden or plastic bag. For the procedure, remove internal organ of the fish and clean it. Basic lang yung pag-remove ng internal organ. Yung maliliit na isda, pwede lang siyang kunan ng internal organ through their gills, yung hasang lang nila. Kahit yun lang yung kunin, kasama na yung internal organ nila, sasabay na sila sa gills. Then soak saturated brine solution for 3 to 4 hours brine solution overnight. For sardines, soak in saturated brine for 10 to 12 hours. Kasi yung sardines matagal mag-absorb yung asin. Then remove the brine fish and allow to drain for 2 to 3 hours. Then pack the drained fish in a wooden or plastic box. Then place a layer of salt in the bottom of the box. So lalagyan talaga sa pinakababa ng asin sa ilalim. Tapos pack fish in layers with a heavy sprinkling of salt over each layer. So ayun, isda sa pinakababa, tapos asin sa pinakababa, tapos isda, tapos asin na naman, tapos isda. Dapat yung isda may ano din siya, may mga asin. The proportion of salt to fish may be vary between 1 to 5 and 1 to 8 by weight. Put enough salt on the top to make up for the which dissolves the runs out of brine. Then store the salted fish at room temperature. For the next example, the Visayan salted or fermented fish tinabal or tinabal. Ano din to siya, sardines, parang sardines. Yung mga, yan, with maraming tomatoes, maraming kamatis. So, tinabal may be classified under fermented product. However, since the fish retains its original shape, tinabal is a popular product in the Visayan region, particularly in Leyte. The most common used species for this product are parrotfish and frigid tuna. Then according to Kalunaga, in 1995, tinabal is consumed as a main dish added to vegetable or dried salted with tomatoes after fashioning for 3 to 4 hours with constant changing of water. Kahit pine-preserve na yung isda through the salt, niluluto pa rin nila sa tomato. Maraming tomatoes yung yung hinog. The materials and equipment, the parrot fish, the salt, and the plastic pail or basin. Procedure: remove adhering material from the fish and wash with fresh water. Scale, eviscerate, split, and wash thoroughly. Dapat wala siyang himbit, tsaka wala na yung mga internal organs, tsaka yung hasang niya kasi yun ang madaling mag-spoilage. Madumi din yung internal organ nila, yung maliliit na isda. Soak the clean fish. Soak the clean fish in 10% brine solution for 1 to 2 hours. Drain for a few minutes, then mix salt with fish. Pack the salted fish in plastic pail or basin after 24 hours. Drain the fish and repack in the remaining salt. Then, for the 1 to 2 weeks, store at room temperature. So, next example is the shrimp cake or the ginamos. Dito sa amin, tinatawag namin siya ditong lamayo. Yung maliliit to siya na isda. Na isda na kapasayan. So, materials and equipment, the small shrimps, the salt, the mortar and pestle, the polyethylene bag, the drying trays, the plastic bowls, and the banana leaves. For the procedure of shrimp cake is remove adhering materials from shrimp. Wash it and place them in a woven basket and dipping in clean seawater several times. So, kailangan natin tanggalin yung bungot-bungot ng pasaya na maliliit. Mas madali siya kapag ginagamitan natin siya ng stick, saka i-roll natin yung stick dun sa maliit na pasayan. Partially dry the shrimp for 1 day to lower moisture content by spreading them thinly on the clean mats or drying crack. Yun. Tapos, add salt to shrimp during tracing. Then after mixing, dry the mass for 1 day. Form into round shape or cubes. Package product in clean banana leaves or in low density polyethylene bag. So dapat wala talaga yung moisture or yung wala talaga siyang tubig. Dry talaga siya. Ginamos na dry. Then for the salted sea urchin are of commercial value due to their gonads, which are highly prized food commodities by the Japanese and Koreans. Then, sea urchin are their favorites for the Japanese. So, in the Philippines, sea urchin are not among the favorite foods of Filipinos hindi dahil sa ignorance tayo, but dahil alam natin na poisonous yung sea urchin, nakakahilo talaga yung ano niya, yung the species of commercial value is Crypnustes gracilia. The color of the gonads ranges from orange to yellow and from greenish yellow to brown. Bright orange gonads are the most preferred in the Japanese market. So for the materials and equipment, we need to have the sea urchin, the ethyl alcohol, the salt, the alum, the seawater, knife, bottles, forceps, teaspoon, and bowl. Procedure of doing the salted sea urchin is wash the sea urchin carefully. Open it into 2 halves by cracking along the umbilical area using a blunt knife. Then, dislodge the digestive system and gut content by making an abrupt downward swing of the arm holding the sea urchin. Then flush carefully the gonads, with seawater and remove the soft membrane using forceps. Then scoop out ganads with teaspoon. Next, clean the ganads. It can be preserved for 4 days by adding alum and 3% salt and keep it chilling temperature. So for the fifth, we need to soak the ganads in 10% brine for 30 minutes. Then drain the brine ganads properly. Then add salt to ganads when mix carefully. Air dry the salted ganads for 30 to 40 hours. Put the air-dried ganads in containers. Then store it for 7 days, 1 week. Add ethyl alcohol or 2% to prevent mold growth. Pack and store in airtight bottles. You need to be careful for doing this salted sea urchin because it is very risky. That's why here in the Philippines is di talaga siya kasi nga risky. And now for the spoilage of salted fish, I there are the types of spoilage of salted fish. The pink are the reddening, the dun, the slimming, the starring, the salt burn, and the putty fish, pari fish. So for the pink or reddening, this is the most common defect of salted and dried fishery products, which is caused by presence of some species of halophilic bacteria that has a pink or rose color. The two groups of halophilic bacteria most often causing pink are Pseudomonas salinaria and the Sarcina litoralis. And according to Tanikawa in 1975, with Wetton and Luzon in 1985, these organisms are found in all new solar salt or other salt prepared from seawater. So for the pink widening is the dun. It is characterized by a peppering of light brown spots or fawn spots. This foliage is caused by the growth of molds of Wallimia genus. This kind of spoilage is we can observe for example, the dried fish. Meron siyang parang web ng web ng spider or ano ba siya? Meron siyang ganun yung type ng spoilage ng dun. Then according to Horner in 1997A, they are able to grow in salt concentration between 5 and 26%, optimum relative humidity of 75% temperatures between between 6 and 7. Then according to Van Clavering and Legendary in 1950, together with Connell in 1995, dipping of the fish in 0.1% or sorbic acid before stocking could prevent or control dun. So we need to put a either 0.1% of sorbic acid so that the dun is controlling it can prevent the dun growth. Next is slimming. It is characterized by semi-greasy, sticky, glistening layer of yellow-gray or beige color. A sour pungent of odor is usually manifested in the product. This spoilage is caused by the growth of slime-producing bacteria of the fish, capable of living in low concentration of the salt. Use of low-quality fish, a slow salting process, and poor atmospheric condition are the main causes of this type of spoilage so that we need to sure na madami talaga yung asin yung ilalagay natin para maiwas yung slimming. Kasi kasi nga, slow salting process and poor atmospheric are the main cause. You need to make sure what you're doing. Then the development of slime can be prevented by observing the following. Fresh fish must be used. Dapat yung fresh talaga, fresh from the fish pond or fresh from the water or temperature and humidity must be reduced. Then salt penetration must be improved. Then the drying of the outer layers of the fish must be accelerated by increasing ventilation. Next is the storing spoilage of salted fish. This condition is due to improper salting. Yung binilisan mo lang ang pag-asin dito sa amin. Yung mabilis lang, konting asin lang yung nalalagay. Lalo na yung asin is nag-wet na tapos ilagay pa rin, konti lang pa rin. Ganito talaga yung result. Which result to uneven distribution of salt and muscle of the fish. Saltborne is this is due to excessive amount of fine salt that draws out the surface moisture so rapidly that the protein coagulates to the extent that rehydration of the salted product is difficult to attain. For example, ano, umuulan. Ngayon, gumawa kami ng dried fish tapos bukas di namin in-expect na umuulan. So, hindi namin malalabas yung ano namin, yung isda na nilalagyan ng asin para ibibilad bukas. Tapos, nag-overdue na siya, naglagpas na siya ng 1 day, yun naluto na yung fish sa asin. Ito yung tawag saltborne. Saltburn. Naluto na yung katawan ng isda sa asin. Iba na yung ano niya, tumigas na talaga. For the parry fish, according to Connell in 1995, this type of spoilage is somewhat related to slimming, during which degradative bacteria gain a hold when the temperature is too high. This occurs in the thick parts of the salted fish, where the rate of increase in the salt concentration is lowest. The remedy is similar to that for slime prevention. For the research notes, according to Banda in 1978, investigated the effect of the salting process on the development of rancidity in salted round scud. The work of Sulit et al. In 1957 showed that the herring brined for 30 and 60 minutes had attained sufficient salt ranging from 11.3 to 17.11% or dry bases. Yun, 30 and 60 minutes lang. According to Playa in 1987, standardized the processing method of salted shrimp cake from Bicol. Then, according to Calanoga in 1995, studied the microbiological, the biochemical, and the nutritional changes in tinabal mulmul from Leyte. According to Playa in 1987, found that a drying time of 3 to 5 hours was best for shrimp cake kasi wala na talaga siyang water dun. Nag-drain na. According to Calanoga in 1995, the non-acid forming organisms decreased the 6th to 9th day, then thereafter until the 21st day of salting fermentation. So that's all, and thank you for listening.